Hey, John.
Hey, Eric. How you doing
How's
tonight?
it going? It's good. Tax day. A day of
Morning.
not celebration.
Hope you were able to make it down to a mailbox earlier today.
Oh, I do everything online. There's no mailboxes for me.
Oh.
Sorry.
I did
I don't
a
write-
mailbox.
I don't
I did
write
a
checks.
I had a physical check. I
Hmm.
dropped them off in the mail last night.
Well done. Well done.
Well, I am nothing if not archaic, I guess.
Okay.
Also,
Okay.
I figure it gives another day.
Another small handful of days before it gets withdrawn from your account.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, did you see Apple has their new Apple savings account?
Have
you seen any of that?
See any of that?
So,
What?
if you have an Apple Card,
Okay.
you can put money. You can get a Apple savings account, high yield savings account for 4.15% APR.
Oh,
Apple will pay you to put your money in their account,
that is interesting.
which is a lot better than the average savings account at a bank, which is somewhere in the less than 1% range.
Yeah. No, that's pretty bad.
So-
But
Interesting.
I don't know that I have talked about anything on here, but I really like Wealthfront for investing.
Yeah.
And I just went there real quick because I didn't remember what they were at. They're at 4.3. So,
Nice.
and they've been sending me emails, because I have both like some investing there, and then that's where I stash my emergency fund, and
Yeah.
and so they send me emails saying, hey, like literally the day that the Fed raises interest rates, they send an email and say, Fed just raised interest rates by 0.25%. We're giving you an extra 0.25%. and I'm like, thank you. That's what I want out of a savings account.
Yeah, we'll see. That's
So-
what. So I did something similar. I have had my emergency fund sitting in my bank and just quietly been grumbling about it. And I just signed up for the Apple high yield whatever today, moved my entire savings emergency fund over there, and we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
4%. I'm not sure how good at math you are. 4% is better than 1% or less.
Less than 1%. I did some math and thought, wow, this actually ain't bad.
Yeah, no, it's good.
And it's just as accessible as a regular savings account. There's nothing, like it doesn't hold on to your money. Like a lot of things maybe have terms that you can't just get access to your money quickly. So we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. I think, that's interesting. Apple, a trillion-dollar company, right? Or multi-trillion-dollar company at this point.
Might as well become a bank too.
Yeah, exactly. But will they do the whole Silicon Valley Bank, rate arbitrage at all? Or is it basically them going, hey, we could actually get like a couple $2 billion in quote unquote loans at a cheaper interest rate from a couple million customers around the world than we can go into a bank. So I don't know. Seems like that could be a
Exactly.
win-win from, I'm the CFO of Apple perspective.
Absolutely.
So, anyway,
Yeah. We'll see.
interesting.
Anyways, so that was my fun fact of the day, I guess we'll call it.
Okay. Fun fact of tax day.
Yeah. That and
They have something fun.
I saved my something fun for later, but I also started reading the Brandon Sanderson secret novel book 2. Have you started that at all yet?
I haven't, but I was just going to start another book because I finished the other thing I was reading and I forgot. And so, no, I will start that one though instead.
So it's called The Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England. And I'm
Oh my
only a
gosh.
third of the way through.
Okay.
And it's kind of fun. It's a very light, very fast read so far, and a little bit different than other things.
Not a Cosmere novel, just a...
I don't know if it is or not.
Okay.
It might be.
Okay.
It might be.
Okay.
But it's it's kind of fun. So,
okay, The Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England.
Yes.
Huh.
So, throw that on your list. Start reading that
Is that a Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's court, but from the other direction? I don't know.
I don't know how to explain it.
You don't want to spoil anything. Okay.
Yeah. You just got to start reading. I mean, I'm only a third of the way through, but there's a path of discovery. The whole book. I mean, it's a discovery process about the main character the whole way through. So
okay, well, you know what?
It's
you
fun.
Totally made my night, because after we're done here, because we're recording early because of other stuff happening this week, but after we're done here, I will go throw that up into my Kindle account and maybe start it. That'll be fun.
Yeah. Well, that's right. We are recording early on tax day, which is Tuesday, instead of our regular Wednesday, because my boy really likes the band Coldplay.
Yep.
And I don't know if you've ever been to the movies where they've had an ad for, live Metropolitan the Opera, live at the movie theater. You can go to the movie theater and watch a live broadcast.
A live show. I have seen the ads. I have never been to a actual show.
I will be able to tell you what that's like tomorrow night, because he really wanted to see Coldplay and told me, hey, they're doing this live in theater thing. And I'm like, all right, fine. I like Coldplay. I will go watch Coldplay with you. So we are going to the air quote movies tomorrow night to watch Coldplay. And it's in the Screen X movie theater. So the 270-degree thing. So it'll be fun to see how that works. So yeah, that's why we're sneaking a day early, because it'll probably be late tomorrow night before we get back.
Right. So, and then I just a prelude for next week. I'm going fishing on Friday. So you were like, hey, could we do it on Thursday? And I'm like, I'm going to have to be up at like 3:30 in the morning on Friday.
That's right.
I really don't want to be late. Or up late. So
yeah.
Anyway, and that way I can edit before I go out on the ocean. So anyway, that'll be fun. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will be able to report back. Was a concert in a movie theater actually fun? It won't be like the live
I could
event,
see it being good.
I think it'd be fun.
I could see it being very good, actually. Yeah. So, okay, that's cool.
Yeah. We'll see.
Well, so like, what?
Anything else exciting?
Well, this weekend was kind of a story of 2 days. Saturday was beautiful, Sunday was rainy. So, Saturday was a bunch of outside stuff. I'm sure I said something last year, but I had to pull out the sprayer and spray the parking lot. It's getting on to spring. Stuff's like growing like, weeds. And, and so I brought out my, MacGyver, spray thing where I, use some C-clamps to clamp a spray bar to the front of the tractor and wire up, a little alligator clip up by my hand so I could turn the sprayer on and off and on and off. And, and so I did that on Saturday and also hooked the mower up to the tractor for the first time in the year. And, started the whole, what happens in spring is you kind of try and stay ahead of all the stuff that grows. So, and big news in the King household is on, I think it was Monday night. We had what is today's Tuesday? It's been a couple days. Sorry, I'm trying to remember the days. This is maybe it was Sunday. We had a calf. We had a baby calf. Our calf was born.
Oh.
And it's a she. And she is very rambunctious and cute. And so let's see, what day was this? April 13th. So it's been a couple days. It's been 5 days.
I was going to say, you texted me a picture.
Yeah.
Did you text me the picture?
Should have been April 13th, or at least that's the That's
Thursday.
the day a wet baby cow showed up in the pasture. So, anyway, so that's a big happening this week. And then Sunday, which was the crummy day, my boys and I did a pottery class. So
Good thing to do indoors.
Exactly, it was indoors. Although it was messy and a lot of water was involved. And it was like way north. I couldn't find a class nearby. So it was up in St. John, or by St. John, right on the other side of the St. John's Bridge. But
by the university out there.
It was a bit of a hike, and so it's not a place that we can go to on like a super regular basis or anything like that. But I have always wanted to try using a pottery wheel, and may I report that it looks a lot easier on YouTube than it is in person.
So you made a blob instead of a bowl.
We made several blobs, all three of us. And nothing was made to fire or anything like that. Because we were wondering as we were going, but if we fire anything, we'll have to come back, and then you have to fire it, and then you have to glaze it, and you have to. And I'm like, I just don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. And she, the instructor was at the very beginning. She's like, you don't expect to take anything home from this class. You're just gonna play, and you're gonna learn how to like do some of the basics. And it was way harder than I had thought. I mean, I could see where like after like a couple dozen, you could maybe get to where it was not as horrifically bad as my first few were. But no, they just kind of got crumpled up and thrown into a big 5-gallon bucket.
Right.
But it was awesome. It was fun. And
okay.
I could see trying to find a local thing that has open nights kind of stuff that you could play around with it. But anyway,
okay,
we'll see. But it was fun. And then on the way home, we basically left my kids over at their friend's house for pretty much the rest of the day. So my wife and I watched a movie together. It had a nice kind of quiet Sunday afternoon.
Nice.
Which was very nice. So anyway.
Yeah, what'd you watch?
Don't Look Up on Netflix. I don't know. Did you see it?
Yeah, I've seen it. It's it's rather funny.
It's a analogy.
It's funny in a please no kind of way.
Yeah. It's definitely a parable on the climate crisis.
Yeah.
But still, very, like amazing, names on the cast.
Yeah.
But it was a good show. And yes, cool. It was. But like many times with technical people, like I'm just trying to not like anything major like political, but like, in a presentation, like lead with the headline.
Yeah.
Like, I know they're playing it all up for like the scientists can't actually talk to any of the other people, right, and the other people aren't listening, and everything's about the social media and everything else. But there's something really there. and
what do the people want to believe? Let's just tell them what they want to believe.
Yeah. But still, like when you're trying to talk, like, what are you actually trying to say?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's funny. But all right. So I actually threw, it's mostly one follow-up, but kind of two follow-up things from a couple weeks ago. I had done the Objective-C post about what did they call it? I forgot what they called it. Smooth operator is what they had called the hack. And in that post, he had said that he didn't have the file that got downloaded, the update agent that would actually be run after downloading. But there are two sort of related follow-ups here. The first of which is 3CX themselves, or at least on the 3CX blog, posted Mandiant results that linked the supply chain attack to North Korea.
Mm-hmm.
So
right.
That was interesting. And then, so to that I will have thrown in the 3CX link. But then the Objective-C blog did a follow-up that has just a little bit more information about the update agent, the second piece that got downloaded and run. At the end of the day, this particular item doesn't seem to do much. It actually basically just downloads, reads some data, and posts it to a server.
Okay.
But the net of it is probably, we don't really know exactly what would have happened, is that since this was a supply chain attack, they were basically, and it was a foreign government sponsored attack. It's likely that this was still just in the discovery mode. So, where, since the update agent could have been downloaded or was downloaded at, multiple times, if and when they found that they had, gotten into a particular organization that, would have been a target organization, they likely would have or could have then, customized the update agent that would have been downloaded and done something else. And so, the fact that this was found, quote, as early as it was is, a potential good thing. So the actual quote, one of the quotes in here towards the end of the article is that it says, "This would make sense as supply chain attacks indiscriminately infect a large number of victims, most of whom, to a nation-state APT group such as Lazarus, are of little interest." So, basically a attack caught early enough before, likely major damage was done. So anyway, that's the follow-up from Smooth Operator from a couple of weeks ago. That's kind of nice.
Cool. Well, do you want to hear about some juice jacking?
Okay. As in plugging in and hacking.
Yeah.
Like USB. So, what are those? Like you need a USB condom.
Condom.
What were those
called? They called them the USB condoms. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Where it would only run the power wires and not the data wires. No. Right. So this is old. Like this is something that was discovered, I think, in Black Hat back in like 2011, and this was a warning back then about, hey, all the free power things you can get at hotels, airports, shopping centers, wherever. Don't use them because hackers can, basically hack your phone if you plug into it. Well, it kind of has gone away. But a couple weeks ago, the FBI's Denver office tweeted, "Hey, avoid using free charging station in airports, hotels, shopping centers, etc. Bad actors have figured out a way to use public USB ports to introduce malware and monitoring software on a device." So, it's like, okay, this is out of the blue. Strange because this is weird. But then last week, the FCC went and issued a similar warning about and tweeted, think twice about using public charging stations. Hackers could gain access to your personal information, install malware, blah, blah, blah. This scam is referred to as juice jacking. And then they linked an article that they had published in 2019 about juice jacking. And so, of course, because this came from the FBI and the FCC most recently, it got picked up a lot and the alerts were all over the place, including, the Late Late Show with James Corden had a small snippet on juice jacking, and you can guess which direction they went with that as a late night TV show.
No comment.
But then, so the point is, how seriously should you take the FBI warning? The Snopes went and just suggested, hey, there's nothing different about how this was before. Because if you think about it, this is not something. I mean, what is somebody going to do with that? Because it's expensive. They got to put hardware in there. It's much cheaper to have you click on a link and expose something. So the attack surface for it, or from an attacker's perspective, it's not, it's expensive.
It's an expensive, non-targeted attack.
Yeah,
potentially
exactly.
expensive, non-targeted attack.
So
and dangerous if it's in a particularly public place, like in an airport or something like that. I mean, you're through security, you're identified, you're on camera, blah, blah, blah. There's lots of stuff.
Yeah, so as far as Snopes was able to figure out, this was just a standard PSA public service announcement type post reminding people about, hey, you should take your own power supply plugs. You shouldn't just plug into random USB ports anywhere. So just a unnecessary reminder. Hey, watch where you're plugging in your phone. So we will just continue with the unnecessary reminder from here and say, hey, yeah, you should probably be taking your own power cords and power supplies if you're traveling anyways. Or, watch out.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
That's all that one was for me. It was a Krebs article, and basically the title of the Krebs article is "Why is juice jacking suddenly back in the news?" And so he has a couple snarky comments. But anyways, that's what I saw this week. That was another public service reminder, public service announcement.
How about you change your password and use a password manager and two-factor auth all the things instead of worrying about this?
Yeah.
Pantheon of cares. It's not, maybe not zero, but certainly not, top of my list.
You're more likely, this is am I more likely to get hit by lightning or bitten by a shark? Or mauled by a bear.
Stung by a bee.
Stung by a bee, yeah. What's more likely?
Depends on particular things. Okay. Well, that's interesting. That's interesting for some definition of interesting. Okay. So my article tonight is actually going to be a link to a PDF done by 8,000 governments. Gosh, if you look at the top of this.
8,000 governments? What?
Well, sorry. I'm a little hyperbolic. Let's see. CISA, National Security Agency, Department of Justice, National Cyber Security Center. I can't tell. I think that's
the UK, GCHQ, or GCHQ.
Australian Government Signals, or Australian Signals Directorate, Australian Cyber Security Center, Communications Security Establishment, Canadian Center for Cyber Security. And then it gets smaller. That must be Germany. Federal Office for Information Security, National Cyber Security Center, CERT-NZ, New Zealand, and National Cyber Security Center, part of the GCSB. I don't know what GCSB is. Anyway, a bunch of government stuff. But this is CISA.
The Five Eyes sounds like.
Oh, you're probably right. I mean, maybe it said, I kind of skipped. Okay. I have to be honest. I skipped past the whole intro stuff. So I scrolled down to where they were actually listing out the things that were what I thought was of interest. So I'm sure that they maybe gave each other credit at the top of it.
Okay.
But okay. So anyway, the whole point of this is a document about, the title is actually Shifting the Balance of Cybersecurity Risk, Principles and Approaches for Security by Design and Default. And do they have I don't know that they have a particular designation on here, but this is, it's basically educational in nature about trying to encourage and issue guidance for how to how to write software that is secure by design, how to, write software that is secure by default, without any particular recommendations for software at all, to be honest, in here. Like, there's not much specifics, but still, the generalities are okay. Well, they vary a little bit, but I pulled them out, and because I thought this was good, and I thought this was an interesting thing. So a couple of things I pulled out here. So, because they talk about secure by design, and then they talk about secure by default, and then they talk about some tactics for both. But secure by design, a quote that I liked out of here was that secure by design development requires the investment of significant resources by software manufacturers at each layer of the product design and development process that cannot be bolted on later. It's totally true. You cannot just let's go add a little bit of security on the top afterwards.
Sprinkle security dust on it. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Can you make this secure? It requires strong leadership by the manufacturer's top business executives to make security a business priority, not just a technical feature. Hear.
Amen.
To quote a friend of mine. So manufacturers are encouraged to make hard trade-offs and investments, including those that will be invisible to the customers. Yes, such as migrating to programming languages that eliminate widespread vulnerabilities. They do not recommend JavaScript. They should prioritize features, mechanisms, and implementation of tools that protect customers rather than product features that seem appealing but enlarge the attack surface. So, secure by design. That's nice. The quotes that I pulled out of secure by design. And okay, yes, that's water is wet, but you know what? It's okay. It's good. I mean, those are very salient points.
Well, and if you are a business that wants to sell to the government, you probably need to, at some point, prove that you're following these type of rules.
I fully expect that this sort of stuff will trickle down into that kind of, nudging. And it's interesting, the coalition building that clearly is happening between, like you said, this is probably the Five Eyes, of just sort of common guidance and recommendations. So the quote that I pulled out for secure by default, so that last was secure by design. Secure by default means products are resilient against prevalent exploitation techniques out of the box without additional charge. These products protect against the most prevalent threats and vulnerabilities without end users having to take additional steps to secure them. That's secure by default.
Because they won't.
Well, maybe that's implied, but yes.
I just finishing the sentence.
We know that. Okay. Yeah. I see. And there were two bullets in here about that. I love both of these. A secure configuration should be the default baseline.
Mm-hmm.
And the complexity of security configuration should not be a customer problem.
Because if it's a customer problem, it's not secure.
That's absolutely right. Like, secure by default which is, I guess, the whole title of this thing is really important. So I liked that. I like that a lot. Mm-hmm. And then it gets into recommendations for both of those. So let's see. Sorry. It says I pulled out three more sections. It was recommendations for software manufacturers, and then secure by design tactics, and then secure by default tactics. So the recommendations for software manufacturers, and these are just sort of high level bullets. They go into some amount of detail in here. It's not a super long PDF. It's like 15 pages with a couple pages of references. So call it a dozen pages. But the first is so 3 bullets underneath software security principles. So the first is that the burden of security should not fall solely on the customer. So, it's the manufacturer that needs to take ownership of the security outcomes, and fix their products or evolve their products accordingly, quote unquote, evolve their products accordingly. That's a quote from them. The second is these are the principles: embrace radical transparency and accountability. So this is sort of the notion of, vulnerability disclosure programs, fixing bugs in public, what we just talked about a minute ago with the 3CX of they pulled in a third-party security firm to do a deep dive, and then they are announcing the findings publicly, root cause analysis and public disclosure, etc. The third is build organizational structure and leadership to achieve these goals. And so, this is harder at some point, but, having what they call executive level commitment for software manufacturers to prioritize security, and, potentially having a security, somebody, sort of responsible for security, having a software security team, a software security leader, to kind of hold them accountable, etc. So a quote underneath this section is: manufacturers should ensure they have robust, independent product security assessment and evaluation programs for their products, etc. So a little bit more detail in there. But the last two chunks of stuff that I kind of pulled out, sort of the bullet points, are secure by design tactics, and then secure by default tactics. And this is where I feel like there's some non-uniform granularity in the recommendations. So for example, the first recommendation is use a memory safe programming language. They're not recommending C. But they say some examples of modern memory safe languages include C#, Rust, Ruby, Java, Go, and Swift. Okay.
Okay.
Largely.
Yeah.
Largely. I think one of those things is not like the others. Maybe two of those things are not like the others, but okay. And second is a secure hardware foundation. Which, okay. So they particularly were recommending something like it says those described by the compatibility hardware enhanced RISC instructions that can extend conventional hardware instruction set architectures. That seems very specific, but in general, there are some interesting, hardware-based security that is interesting, but more from an OS perspective. But I think if they're targeting like device manufacturers that are integrating, IoT devices and stuff like that, in not just having, but enabling and properly configuring secure boot and stuff like that, it is something that's kind of at the integration responsibility. So I could see something like that. Third is secure software components. So this is kind of like the supply chain, but they didn't actually say that.
Right.
But they do say ensure that you know the source, basically, of the libraries that you're integrating, which is tricky. Let's see. Fourth was a web template framework. So basically do something that takes the escaping out of the hands of the developers and does it all automatically, which is very specific and very good recommendation, because that evades a good number of sort of web attacks. And then what was the fifth one? Parameters. So this is where we're diving into super deep but very good specific recommendations. Parameterized queries to avoid SQL injection attacks. I totally agree. Parameterized queries. But And yes, okay, that's good. And then from like being super deep in the weeds, now we step back out. And the next one was static and dynamic application security testing. Okay, so do static analysis. Okay,
Right.
and dynamic analysis. Okay, that's good. Kind of a high level recommendation. Code review. I agree. Software bill of materials. Interesting. Okay, I don't disagree with that, but that's a a specific recommendation that.
I guess now it feels like we're getting into, this isn't just for secure. This is just software in general should have some of these things.
Yeah, no, this is
Quality
not for
software in
security
general.
software. This is just this is writing. This isn't writing security software. This is writing software securely. But the recommendations, the last few recommendations in this thing for the secure by design tactics are having a vulnerability disclosure program, CVE completeness, defense in depth, and satisfy cyber performance goals. Which I don't actually know what cyber performance goals are, but there are links in here. But I felt like I felt like reading this section that there were clearly like and I'm going to say the first because the first few are very specific recommendations for like, things that will avoid major stumbling blocks, avoiding cross-site scripting, avoiding, process injection attacks, avoiding buffer overflows by using, memory safe programming languages. And then like in passing the document around for editing, I'm totally making the story up in my head. The various people added, let's say, less specific recommendations or less actionable recommendations. Like
I have to be seen contributing something. So what isn't already said yet? Oh, let's say this.
Satisfy your cyber performance goals. Okay. So anyway, I found that, a little interesting, but whatever, I don't want to, I'm not throwing stones really, but just very small pebbles. The second whole section is about secure by default tactics. And again, like the first couple of these are very actionable. Eliminate default passwords. Use single sign-on. Do secure logging. And then we exit the realm that I kind of understand well and do say software authorization profile. And maybe this is like just language that I don't normally use, like having role-based access controls is an important thing. So, but maybe RBAC isn't what people talk about these days. But yeah, like having different permissions for the appropriate users and following least privilege is maybe like I might have called that least privilege. Anyway, forward-looking security over backwards compatibility. So I like that.
Yes.
I agree. Like, the problem of including backwards compatibility features and enabled by default means that you carry your vulnerabilities forward in perpetuity or until such time as those features are disabled. So, that is in direct opposition to secure by default, so having the if you're forced to have backward compatibility, having those settings disabled by default, aka you're secure by default, which is the whole point of the section, makes sense to me. And then the last couple here are track and reduce hardening guide size, aka don't make it super complicated because people won't be able to follow it.
Right.
It says, let's see, what does it say? Reduce the size of hardening guides produced for product and strive to ensure that the size shrinks over time as new versions of the software are released. Integrate components of the hardening guide as the default configuration of the product. So,
nice.
Yeah. And then the last one is consider the user experience consequences of security settings. Each new setting increases the cognitive burden on end users and should be assessed in conjunction with the business benefit it derives. Ideally, a setting should not exist.
Yay.
Hear, hear. So anyway, I liked this article in general. A few nits, but yeah, I thought this was good. So there you go. That's my my article for the week. How to better write software that is secure by design and default.
Hear, hear.
Secure by design and secure by default.
I'm in.
Okay, all right. There you go.
My something fun.
All right, my friend. How about something fun?
My something fun. Click on the link.
On this link.
So what this is a map that they have taken, I think, 27 different climate models and have on the map mapped where you currently live today. What will the weather prediction of what the weather and the climate will be like 60 years from now? So what will the climate feel like to you? So if you go and click on Portland, Oregon, where we're sitting.
Okay.
This model basically comes out and says, in 2080, your climate will feel much more like Lincoln, California. So outside of Sacramento. The summer will be about 14 degrees hotter and 88% drier than it is today. So you can pick any city, well, not any city. They have, I think, 500 and some odd cities throughout the U.S. mapped. And it's not all just, everything is just going to get hotter. And if you pick a dot from the north, it's going to tell you somewhere further south where it's hotter. There are even some, like, I think Dallas, Texas has, says this is in, 2080, it's going to feel a lot more like Louisiana near New Orleans, and will actually be 143% wetter in the summer than it is currently. So it kind of gives you not just a simple, it's going to be this much hotter. It gives you the whole weather similarity. Like, is it going to be wetter? Because climate change is not just everything's getting hotter. It's where you live and how the climate adjusts. And it maps all the different, I think it said 27 different models that are picking out what the climate will feel like where you live. So you can pick different ones. Fun ones are like LA is going to feel like way south in Mexico. A lot of different ones. So
wow. Okay. No, that's really cool.
It's just kind of a cool little map.
What is Las Vegas going to feel like? Bullhead City, Arizona, 9.1 degrees warmer and 5.4% drier than winter in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm not sure. Can you distinguish between 5.4% drier? Like
I don't know.
It's 5.4% of a pretty small number, I think.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But even if you pick like Billings, Montana is going to feel more like southern Utah. It'll be a little bit wetter in Billings, but it will be 15 degrees hotter. So I picked a bunch on the West Coast because that's where I live. But you can go to like New York is going to feel a lot more like Jonesboro, Arkansas in 60 years. Boston is going to feel a lot more like Maryland, a city in Maryland. So, and it's either wetter or drier. So it'll be a little bit wetter, or a little bit drier, depending on. But for the most part, the temperature is some from just a few degrees warmer to a lot warmer.
Where are some of the like the places in Florida that are so low that they're likely to not exist? What are those? Okay.
Yeah. So anyways, it's a fun map, just to kind of give you, based on a bunch of scientific research and climate models and forecasts that, it's 60 years out. So how accurate is it?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's, it trends in they all seem to trend in the same direction. So
yeah. Okay. That's cool. that's a cool site. Cool site. shinyapps.io. Okay, cool. My something fun, since I did the pottery class, I figured I would use a YouTube pottery channel that I have watched a number of things from. So it is Matthew Kelly Pottery. And
where he makes it look simple, right?
Oh, my gracious sakes. It's ridiculously simple. Ridiculously simple. Like, and I haven't actually gone back and watched some of these after having tried it, but like I didn't actually pull up. I don't know if that I'll pull up a particular item. I think I'll just put a link to the channel here, but, like he was, what I see him doing, he was like doing these big, like 20 or 30 pound vases and things where, you know, he was basically having to, throw something down, spin it up, and then throw another thing down and like add on to it. Like basically take three different things, kind of flip them upside down and then put them on top and then bind them together. And then like a third because you can only really like manage a certain,
right.
I forget how big the blocks were that he was doing, you know, something like, maybe 5 pounds or 10 pounds or something like that. I mean, it was a lot, but then if you add them together, you know, he's basically doing segments to do something really big. So anyway,
right.
He makes it look ridiculously easy. Matthew Kelly Pottery. What does it say? It says, as a potter with 27 years of experience. So he, yes, he made it look very easy, but it's mesmerizing, and
there you go.
And is beautiful. So that's my something fun.
Nice.
Go watch somebody make something and then maybe try and make it yourself. That's cool. So I've always wanted to try a pottery wheel, and now I can say I've done it.
You have now tried it.
And I would like to do it again, but it seriously way harder. Oh my gracious. So
all right,
there you go.
dude.
That's my something fun.
Well, happy tax day.
Man. Happy tax day.
I will
talk to you later.
See you later. Have a good one.
All right. Bye, Eric.
Bye.